Before you get up and say the first word of your speech, audiences are going to be asking and answering 3 very important questions about you, all depending upon how you look, how you move, and how you're looking at them. And the first question they're asking is, are you competent to be our leader? Because speakers are leaders in charge of a group, the audience. And that audience wants to know that you're not going to waste their time. And the second thing they want to know is, are you comfortable being our leader? Because nervous speakers tend to make audiences feel nervous, and this is an unpleasant experience. Not only that, but if you're so nervous, can we trust what you're telling us to be true? And finally, they want to know, are you a good character to be our leader, to be trusted as a leader of us with this message? Because leaders are expected to communicate what is good for improving the audience's quality of life, not what immediately benefits the personal goals of the speaker. To get positive answers to all 3 of these questions, there are 6 physical delivery techniques of which you should be aware. And these are your posture, gesturing, facial expressions, eye contact, and your appearance. So let's take a look at posture. What we don't want to do is give the impression that we're not in control of the space around us. We don't want one-legged speeches too unstable. We don't want foot twisting because that also looks unstable. Instead, we want a person who has both feet on the ground and can command the space around them. They're in charge. One of the worst things that can happen to you at a podium is a tendency to want to lean on it. And lean on it makes you look like you're sideways and you're not in control of your space. Even worse is when you life raft the podium. Now look at this horrible image. Not only does it look like you're fighting for your life out in the middle of the ocean, but consider this, it looks like thin air has more control of you than you have of it. And now you've been slam dumped down. Not only that, but it makes you look shorter. You'll find out about height in just a moment. So stand up with both feet on the ground. And that brings us to body movement. Body movement is very important. We all know about the nervous person who paces back and forth. What are we paying attention to? We're paying attention to all that movement, not your message. Now, one slick technique that professionals sometimes use is what is called positioning location. For example, I might begin the first major part of my speech message, the first main point, in this position. And then when I shift and transition to my second point, I might take a step closer to the audience. And then for my last point, I might take my closest position of all to that audience to really emphasize its importance to them. Now, besides body movement, we have gestures. And gestures are very important. I have students all the time who ask me, what do I do with my hands? I say, use them. But don't use them in a way that shows that you're out of control or way too nervous, such as fidgeting. Don't be like the person I once saw who unbuttoned and rebuttoned her blouse continuously during the speech. To this day, I have no idea what her topic was. I just remember all that nervous gesturing. We also don't want you to put your hands behind you. We ask ourselves, what are you doing back there? We can't see. So you need to be transparent with your gestures. Gestures are primarily to illustrate and support and emphasize what you are saying. So if you say there are 2 reasons to do something, maybe you could hold up 2 fingers and say there's 2 reasons to do something and give a visual support. Or maybe you want to emphasize a word as being very important in a sentence, such as this is really important. But gestures should not detract, they should support what you are saying. And right along with gestures will be your facial expression. Folks, this is not a game of Texas Hold'em poker. You got to give them a cue as to how to emotionally react to your message. So if you are giving a discussion that is somewhat humorous or lighthearted, Have a smile on your face. Let them know. If you're questioning something, you might raise your eyebrows as you question. If it is serious, then we should have a serious expression on our face. So give your audience a cue as to how to react to the message and take its meaning. And right along with facial expression is your eye contact. Now, eye contact is how you really connect the listener to the message. And I don't care what you've heard from so-called experts, that the best way to handle an audience is to look over their heads or between them or whatever. We know if you're looking at us, and if you're not looking at us as you're speaking to us, you disconnect us from the message, and we have feelings of detachment and even hostility. So eye contact is very important. How do you keep everyone included in your speech? A technique, again, used by a lot of professional speakers is called the Z formation. And that's where you might start at one side of your audience, slowly sweep your eyes to the other side, and keep diagonally sweeping across to and fro till you reach the back row, and then work your way back up to the front. Now be careful, you've got to go slow. If you go too fast, you'll become like one speaker I once saw who was literally the human fan. And that's distracting too. All right, so we've looked at posture, we've looked at movement, we've looked at gestures, we've looked at facial expression and eye contact. And the very last element that a lot of people overlook is appearance. So you want to dress slightly more formally than the audience that you will be addressing. This shows respect for them, it shows some planning, that you care about them, and that you are indeed their leader. And let's say a few things about what you wear. You want to make sure that you are not the invisible speaker. As you notice, I have a white background behind me. Therefore, I did not wear all white today. Likewise, if I had a dark background, I would have worn something lighter in color so that I stand out. You want the spotlight to definitely be on you. Think also about your accessories, and women especially. Be careful of jangly bracelets, flopping earrings, necklaces, and so forth that make all kinds of little clink-clank sounds, especially if you're going to be remotely mic'd for the presentation, because it will thunder out to the audience and drown out your speech. Another thing you want to keep in mind is that you want height. In every known culture on the face of this earth, height is credibility. And so you want to get as much height as you can. Now, you already have a little advantage. The audience is seated, so their angle of vision is an upward one, making you look taller. But you can destroy that very fast if you get behind a podium, which now cuts you off and provides a point of reference. So if you have to speak behind the podium, try to step back, or if possible, get yourself a riser so that you can be even taller behind that podium. Women can wear high heels and put their hair up on top of their head and create more height. Well, whatever you do, try to look as tall as you can. A couple of things everyone ought to be doing is throwing the shoulders back and tilting the chin slightly up. This shows that I am in control of my space and I am confident and comfortable in doing so. Next time you give a speech, remember those three questions about are you competent, are you comfortable, and are you of good character, and the 6 factors it takes to get positive answers to those questions: posture, body movement, gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, and appearance. Hope you have a great speech.